There are those among us who wear their face as a mask, a flawless reflection of what we hope to see. They speak with warmth, their words deliberate, their presence calculated. Most will call them charming, but the few who see clearly understand the deeper truth. Charm is often the first weapon of control. In the quiet moments, when their smile fades, you feel a subtle shift, a shadow brushing against your awareness. It is the whisper of manipulation, the unspoken claim over your perception and your decisions. Human nature is vulnerable to illusion. We crave approval, understanding, and the illusion of connection. A manipulative person exploits this with the precision of a surgeon, cutting at your trust before you even realize it has bled. The first sign is subtle, inconsistency disguised as flexibility. Words and actions misalign. Promises are made but dissolved. Compassion is shown, but only when convenient. The mind of the unaware accepts these contradictions as harmless. The mind of the vigilant senses the pattern, the quiet erosion of autonomy. History, though often ignored, provides the blueprint of human deceit. Machiavelli observed that those who master influence rarely rely on brute force. They cultivate dependence, desire, and illusion. They do not demand submission openly. They orchestrate it with invisible threads. The manipulator's first sign is a reflection of this strategy. They mirror your needs, your desires, your fears, creating a silent bond that masks control. You are not free in their presence, even when you feel valued. Recognize the emotional toll before it manifests. The subtle tension, the erosion of your self-directed thought, at the flicker of doubt where certainty once lived. These are the quiet footprints of the manipulator. To ignore them is to surrender a piece of your sovereignty without resistance. To confront them requires perception sharpened beyond social politeness, an awareness that distinguishes authenticity from performance. Those who understand these dynamics do not react in panic. They observe, measure, and contain. Awareness becomes armor. Silence becomes strategy. The first recognition of manipulation is never dramatic. It is a quiet, internal revelation. The world does not bend to your will. Others will attempt to bend your perception, your choices, your reality. The few who see clearly learn to detect the patterns before the influence takes root. The consequences of ignorance are profound. Every unrecognized manipulation leaves an imprint upon your judgment, your confidence, and your autonomy. Each interaction, unnoticed, becomes a lesson in control you never intended to teach. The first sign of a manipulative person is not loud, not insistent. It is a shadow in the corner of your awareness. Those who feel it and act are few. Those who do not will remain unaware until the web is complete. In the coming chapters, we will examine the deeper architecture of manipulation, the second and third signs that reveal the most dangerous individuals. But before we move forward, hold this awareness as a lens through which every interaction must now be viewed. Nothing is as it appears. The face you trust may conceal the chains you do not yet feel. Only those who choose to see clearly will emerge with control intact. While manipulation rarely announces itself with thunder, it whispers, subtle and unrelenting, weaving doubt and desire into the fabric of your thoughts. The second sign of a manipulative person is the calculated distortion of reality. They present truth as malleable, shaping facts and framing events so that your perception bends without resistance. In their presence, certainty becomes fragile. What you once knew with clarity now feels uncertain. Every detail, every recollection is quietly questioned. You begin to doubt yourself, not because you are weak, but because they are relentless architects of psychological pressure. Emotion becomes their instrument. They do not simply argue, they provoke. They do not simply persuade. They engineer discomfort that compels compliance. A single phrase, delivered with calm precision, can unmoor your confidence. A subtle gesture can trigger guilt where none should exist. The manipulative person understands that control is more potent when it is invisible. They seed your mind with uncertainty, watching silently as it grows into hesitation, then into dependence. Every interaction is a calculated test, each response a measured nudge toward submission. The few who sense this pattern experience it as a creeping unease. Their instinct tells them that something is off, but the specifics remain hidden, tangled in layers of charm, logic, and emotional resonance. Machiavelli wrote that the most dangerous adversaries are those who conceal their intentions beneath a veneer of benevolence. The manipulator embodies this principle flawlessly. Their kindness is never accidental, their guidance never neutral. Every word, every action is an investment in shaping your perception to suit their objectives. Notice how they rewrite your choices. Suggestions arrive cloaked as freedom, yet each one directs you subtly toward their design. Your victories are framed as dependent on their counsel, your doubts amplified by their insinuation. Over time, your mind aligns with theirs, not because you consented consciously, but because they orchestrated the path of least resistance. The manipulative individual does not demand obedience. They earn it, silently, imperceptibly, until the point of recognition is too late. This is why awareness is not optional. To see clearly is to reclaim agency, to pierce the veil of their constructed reality. Observe the shifts in your thought patterns, the hesitations in your confidence, the quiet unease after conversation. While these are not coincidences, they are evidence of influence. The second sign is invisible to most, yet devastating to those unprepared. It is the whisper that turns into a guiding hand, unseen until you realize you are no longer leading yourself. To confront this reality requires restraint, observation, and the courage to detach emotionally. The manipulator thrives on reaction. Every outburst, every display of panic feeds their design. Silence and internal discipline are the shields that deny them power. Recognize the whisper, and you intercept it before it becomes command. The mind that masters observation, that measures influence rather than responds, begins to reclaim territory the manipulator assumed was theirs. In the shadowed corridors of human interaction, yet this is where the battle for autonomy truly occurs. Not in open conflict, but in the subtle reshaping of belief, trust, and perception. The second sign is a quiet reminder. Influence without awareness is enslavement. Those who understand this law are few, and they carry within them a silent dominance, the kind that cannot be shaken by charm or deceit. The path forward demands vigilance. In the next chapter, we will reveal the final sign, the one that exposes the manipulative individual in full, when charm, illusion, and influence converge into action. Prepare to confront it, for it leaves no room for ignorance. The final and most devastating sign of a manipulative person is the creation of reliance, subtle, invisible, and unrelenting. They do not strike openly, they do not coerce with threats, and they construct a web of psychological dependency, a silent cage in which your autonomy slowly dissolves. Every favor, every piece of guidance, Every demonstration of concern is calculated to tether you closer to them. By the time awareness dawns, the ties are already deep, entwined with your needs, your decisions, even your emotions. You are not aware of the bars until you reach for freedom and find your hands entangled. Observe how they frame your victories and failures. Success is often attributed to their insight, their intervention, their influence. Failure becomes a reflection of your own inadequacy, a reminder that their guidance is indispensable. Every interaction reinforces a pattern. Without them, you are uncertain, incomplete, insufficient. This is not mentorship. It is architecture designed to make dependence seem natural, even desirable. The manipulative mind excels at making you feel chosen, protected, or uniquely understood, while in reality, every gesture is a tool of control. Emotion is both their weapon and their cloak. They cultivate gratitude, fear, admiration, or guilt with meticulous precision, ensuring that your response aligns with their strategy. Moments of apparent kindness become shackles, and every conflict becomes a test of your psychological endurance. The mind of the unaware tolerates this gradually, interpreting it as normal social exchange, subtle bonding, or interpersonal necessity. The mind of the vigilant recognizes the pattern. A relationship that erodes independence is a relationship of control. Machiavelli wrote that the most dangerous influence is that which makes itself indispensable. Here, in this subtle orchestration of reliance, the manipulative individual achieves mastery without confrontation. They create an ecosystem where leaving or resisting requires effort, courage, and discomfort, resources most are unwilling to expend. They do not need to demand loyalty. They have engineered it. Your obedience is silent, voluntary, and complete, yet entirely contrived. Those who feel the weight of this dependency experience unease, guilt, or confusion. Every step forward feels constrained. Decisions, once free, now bear the shadow of their presence. Yet clarity can dismantle this architecture. Awareness illuminates the chains. Observation identifies the levers. Detachment dissolves the illusion of indispensability. Internal discipline is the only force capable of reclaiming sovereignty. But you must understand that the dependence is never accidental. It is designed, deliberate, and precise. The manipulative individual's power rests entirely on your lack of awareness. Recognition of the first two signs, the subtle inconsistency and the distortion of reality, prepares you to confront this final architecture. The moment you see the cage, its walls are no longer invisible. You reclaim the ability to choose without their influence. Silent mastery begins when you no longer respond, when you observe without reaction, when the pull of their strategy fails to unsettle your internal equilibrium. This is the culmination of their design. Influence so profound that freedom feels impossible, yet subtle enough to be mistaken for natural interdependence. To confront it requires restraint, strategy, and unwavering self-discipline. Yet those who master this dynamic do not triumph through confrontation, but through internal sovereignty. The final lesson is unmistakable. Autonomy is maintained not through resistance alone, but through the absolute control of perception, desire, and emotional alignment. In the next chapter, we will integrate these three signs into a strategic framework for detection, response, and disciplined dominance over manipulative influence. Here, understanding transforms into authority, quiet, impenetrable, and absolute. You have now seen the architecture of manipulation laid bare. the mask of charm, the whisper of influence, the cage of dependency. Awareness alone is not enough. Knowledge without action is impotent, like holding a sword without strength to wield it. The final step is internalization, the deliberate transformation of perception into authority. Those who understand these signs do not merely avoid being controlled, they move through the world with a silent, unshakable dominance. Autonomy becomes instinct, observation becomes reflex, and manipulation becomes powerless against the mind that sees clearly. Strategic response begins with detachment. Every manipulative gesture is an experiment. Every subtle distortion of reality is a test. To react emotionally is to participate in the game they designed. Silence, observation, and measured action are the shields of sovereignty. When charm is offered, receive it as data, not as currency. When reality is distorted, measure it against your own unwavering internal compass. When dependency is suggested, withdraw without hesitation. While the mind that masters these responses is untouchable, influence may be attempted, but it falters, powerless against disciplined perception. Internal authority is reinforced through deliberate reflection. Examine every interaction with ruthless honesty. Separate the signal from the noise, the genuine from the performed. Allow discomfort to illuminate rather than unsettle. Each moment of tension becomes a lesson in human design. Each subtle manipulation an opportunity to refine discernment. The few who cultivate this depth of awareness do not need to dominate others overtly. Their mastery is quiet, invisible, and absolute. The presence of such a mind commands respect without demand, influence without effort, control without declaration. Emotion must be tempered, not extinguished. Awareness does not mean coldness, and it means calibrated response. Compassion may exist, but it is deliberate, not reactive. Trust is earned, measured, and granted sparingly. Relationships are maintained not as obligations, but as arenas for observation, assessment, and strategic engagement. Those who fail to adopt this posture remain vulnerable, their autonomy gradually eroded by invisible threads. Those who succeed cultivate a state of impervious calm, a fortress of self-possession that cannot be breached. Finally, sovereignty is reinforced through identity. You are no longer the passive observer, the susceptible participant. You are the architect of perception, the custodian of your own emotional economy, the arbiter of influence. The manipulative individual may attempt their craft, but your mastery renders it ineffective. Each recognition of charm, distortion, and dependency strengthens internal equilibrium. Each measured response builds a quiet empire of control, invisible yet absolute. The transformation is complete. Awareness has become authority, observation has become power, restraint has become freedom. Remember this and carry it silently. The world is full of those who would shape your mind, bend your choices, and tether your autonomy. Those who see, those who act deliberately, are few. To be one of them is not an achievement of chance. It is the consequence of discipline, clarity, and unyielding internal control. The signs of manipulation are no longer threats. They are markers, guides along the path to sovereignty. Observe them, understand them, and in that understanding, become untouchable. Awareness and strategy are only the beginning. Yet the true test of mastery lies in endurance, the relentless application of internal sovereignty over time. The manipulative individual does not cease their influence once recognized. They adapt, refine, and probe for weakness. It is not enough to see clearly. You must live clearly. Every day presents new challenges, new subtle attempts at control, and new distortions to navigate. Those who endure, who maintain vigilance, transform observation into instinct, and instinct into unassailable discipline. Power resides not in dominance over others, but in mastery over the self. Every thought, every emotion, every response is a battlefield. The few who cultivate this discipline feel the pull of manipulation and neither yield nor react in haste. Patience becomes their armor. Silence becomes their strength. Every interaction is filtered through a lens of measured calculation. Every decision, an exercise in controlled perception. The manipulative lose influence not through confrontation, but through invisibility. The refusal to be unsettled, the refusal to be owned. The world rewards those who act without emotion, yet perceive with total clarity. Those who internalize these laws do not announce their awareness. They embody it. A single glance, a measured word, a deliberate pause. These are more powerful than any overt action. Authority becomes silent, presence becomes unmistakable, and influence radiates without effort. The manipulative person, once a threat, now encounters an obstacle they cannot navigate. An individual whose mind is impervious to illusion, whose will is grounded in unwavering clarity. Yet remember that discipline is cumulative. Every recognition of inconsistency, distortion, and engineered dependency strengthens the internal framework of control. Each moment of restraint builds a fortress of perception that cannot be breached. The practice is daily, exacting, and continuous. This is the path of the few, the path of those who do not simply survive manipulation, but rise above it, shaping their own reality while the world continues unaware. Ultimately, mastery is silent. It is invisible. It is internal. The manipulative cannot coerce a mind that has become sovereign, nor can charm sway one whose perception is unshakable. To reach this state is to inhabit a rarefied existence where influence is measured, power is quiet, and freedom is absolute. The laws of manipulation are no longer a threat. They are tools for understanding, guiding, and reinforcing your internal authority. Carry this truth silently. Most are unaware. Most remain susceptible. The few who see, the few who act, the few who endure with discipline are untouchable. Autonomy is not claimed once. It is defended every day. Those who commit to this path move through the world with invisible strength, quiet dominance, and the certainty of internal sovereignty. Mastery is not a moment. It is a constant state. The manipulative will never cease their attempts. They shift, adapt, and evolve with time, seeking new openings, testing new weaknesses. The individual who has seen all signs and acted with restraint must now adopt eternal vigilance. Awareness alone is insufficient if it fades with distraction, or if discipline wanes in comfort. The mind that wishes to remain sovereign must remain awake, precise, and deliberate. Every moment a conscious exercise of internal authority. The true power of the few lies in constancy. They do not tire of observation. They do not waver in judgment. Each interaction is recorded internally, each subtle distortion assessed and neutralized before it manifests in consequence. They have no need for outward confrontation. Their dominance is silent, yet absolute. The manipulative encounter reality and find only a calm, impenetrable mind. Their strategies fail because they encounter not resistance, but absence. Absence of reaction, absence of uncertainty, absence of control. Emotion is refined into tool and compass. The mind becomes a mirror, reflecting only what is deliberate, only what is necessary. If fear is observed, not endured, desire is measured, not indulged, doubt is assessed, not absorbed. This is the discipline that transforms perception into sovereignty, strategy into instinct, and vigilance into a permanent state of untouchable presence. The manipulative cannot bend you if you have become unmovable. Time itself becomes an ally. Patterns that once seemed inscrutable are revealed through patient observation. The manipulative are exposed not by confrontation, but by their own repetition, their own reliance on what they presume is unseen. Those who endure long enough gain a clarity that transcends ordinary awareness, a perception that reads intention in the briefest glance, motivation in the subtlest gesture. Their silence carries authority, their calm radiates dominance, and their sovereignty becomes self-perpetuating. Now the path is exacting, relentless, and solitary. Few will walk it. Fewer still will persist without deviation. But those who do inhabit a realm beyond manipulation, beyond illusion, and beyond fear. Here, influence is powerless, charm is inert, and control rests entirely within one mind. Eternal vigilance is no burden, it is freedom. It is the unshakable, invisible fortress of the few who have chosen mastery over susceptibility, discipline over indulgence, clarity over deception. Carry this understanding as both shield and compass. The world will always attempt to shape you, yet your sovereignty is unassailable. Observation becomes instinct, restraint becomes strategy, and vigilance becomes a permanent state of being. The manipulative are everywhere, but their power is null against the mind that refuses to bend. And the few who endure this discipline walk untouchable among the masses, silent, sovereign, eternal.